Hey y'all! I'm here today to talk about where you should be before you start a contest prep. The season starts in about 2 weeks, I believe, at a John Lindsay show out west. And then after the Arnold, it honestly just picks up, and there are so many shows this entire year from March all the way until the beginning of December. So I've been getting a lot of inquiries in regards to competing, and I really think this is something that people should know, is where you should be before you start a prep. Because a lot of people who reach out to me, I understand they really want to do a show, but they're not in a position to do the show. I wanted to make this so you guys could have a better understanding on what coaches who actually care about your health and longevity in the sport look to before taking you on as a contest prep client. First thing to consider is, are you eating enough? This is super important. A lot of people will either be not eating enough, or they will be very, very inconsistent with what they're eating. A lot of people who diet for a show, we get very caught up in what, looking like that. And then as soon as we stop looking like that, we tend to freak out, right? So then it creates this very paradoxical kind of relationship with food, is that you want to eat it because you couldn't really eat a lot of calorie dense things before if you were on a very strict prep, but then you also want to look good like you did at the show. So you kind of do this yo-yo type overeat, restrict type cycle. So a lot of people are very inconsistent with what they're eating after the shows. And ideally, a very healthy metabolism is one that is better to diet. So I recommend, I know a lot of coaches that I surround myself with, they also recommend, is working with them off season, okay? So this is not just to take your money. I know as soon as I say this, I hope people don't see it like this, but I know some people do. And if I'm like, oh, okay, we need 3 to 6 months to work together and then we can think about a contest prep, they're like, oh, of course, this girl wants to work with me for 3 to 6 months and then do a 20-week contest prep. No, this is for your health and your longevity. People who do not care what you're doing off season, those are the people that you should run away from. Usually they're less expensive, but that's why. And taking care of your metabolism off season or just in a non-dieting time is really, really crucial, because otherwise you're gonna just start spinning your wheels, and then you're gonna be that person who has to eat 800 calories and do 3 hours of cardio. And that is, I'm not exaggerating when I say this, and I see this a lot. I get a lot of those people who come to me after going through coaches like that, and they've done that for years, and now what do, right? So really make sure before you start a contest prep that you are eating enough, eating well above, what you should kind of feel uncomfortable at certain times. You should be eating a decent amount, because when we cut, we're gonna have to cut your food intake. So you don't wanna cut from a plate. If you're eating this and we have to cut to that, versus if you're eating here and then we cut to here. It's a lot better in that instance, and then you avoid, like I said, the 800 calorie diets, the 3 hours of cardio, and you're not losing weight. The other thing to consider is, how much cardio are you doing? Are you relying on cardio to maintain your weight? That is a really big problem also. This runs into the same thing. If your calories are low, where are we gonna cut from? If your cardio is high, what are we gonna add? That's not unreasonable. There's a time and a place for everything. I 100% believe that there is a time and a place for, extensive cardio, training when you don't want to train, dieting past what you think you should be doing, but that is reserved for the end. I think of cardio as a tool. It is a tool to, get leaner when things aren't working. If your metabolism is healthy, you're training hard, and you're doing a little bit of cardio, you're gonna do really well. And then at the end, we can kind of sprinkle in a little bit more. Of course, every client is different, and some people need more cardio. If they've always done cardio for years and years and years, those people are probably gonna need more cardio. Likewise, people who don't really do a lot can probably get away with doing 1 or 2 sessions. So there's different ends of the spectrum, of course, but it's just something, if you don't have to rely on it to maintain your weight, that is a really, really big no-no before doing a prep. So typically in an off season, what I would do is, as you slowly add calories in, you slowly drop the cardio. You don't drop it all at once. You can, that's usually what I do. But if a lot of people don't want to do that, you know what I mean? So we kind of slowly drop that off, so that before you're going into a prep, you're doing minimal cardio, so that again, we can use that as a tool. The last thing to consider is, when was your last show? If you're somebody who is trying to compete in every show, typically what happens is you prep for, let's say 12 weeks. You're like, okay, it's January, I'm gonna prep, I'm gonna start the competition season in March. And then trust me, it gets very addicting. You wanna do every show you can. Like, I've been there, done that. Got the t-shirt, literally they give out t-shirts at shows. That's the saying, right? Whatever. So, you know, you do your prep, and then you have a show, and then you have a few weeks in between the shows. So you're like, you know what, I can back off of it for about a week, kind of do what I want. And then you're like, oh my God, I gained way more weight than I should have. And then you have to get stricter in order to do the next show. Same cycle repeats. And then by the end of the year, you are doing everything in your power to lose weight, and your body does not want to. So again, trying to avoid that. Planning shows in a strategic manner instead of just doing all of them. Now, like I said, I've been there, and I want to do every show. And there are certain cases that, you know, if you're close, this happened to me when I was still trying to turn pro. I had done a lot of shows, but I was really, really close to, you know, I kept placing in the top 5. So I was like, listen, Layne, we just gotta push it. And you know, that was really tough on my body, which made that really hard last year to prep. But you know, sometimes you do things that aren't as smart as you'd like them to be, but that's why I'm sharing my experience with you guys so you don't make the same mistakes. So knowing when your last show has been is really important for coaches. If you live in Florida, the Northeast, or the West Coast, you're gonna have a lot of shows to choose from. Now, in other states, which I'm not as familiar with, I know sometimes the girls don't have as many options, so that can be harder to plan shows. But really try to be strategic with your show planning, and also, you know, if you've just done a show, you probably shouldn't jump right back into a contest prep if 1 and 2 aren't in check. If you're not eating enough, you're doing a lot of cardio, and you've just done a lot of shows, you probably should rethink your show plans and really take a dedicated off season. All the things I mentioned are things that good coaches should do when analyzing you as a potential client. So as soon as someone contacts me, a lot of times people say, I want to do a show. And I'm like, okay, hold on. So they get my questionnaire, which analyzes all these things. I get to find out how much they're eating, what their training looks like, what their cardio looks like, you know, all these sorts of things. And then I make the decision on whether or not I think it's okay for them to proceed into a prep. I will say, to date, I have only taken on 1 client who I haven't worked with off season to do a contest prep. And that is because she was in a good spot in regards to all these other things. Most people who reach out to me are not. So if you have a coach who cares about your health and your well-being and your longevity in the sport, which is what all coaches should care about, they will analyze these things, and they will be upfront and tell you that you probably shouldn't do a show. I know that's the worst thing to hear, because when you're dead set on doing something, you really want to go for it. And it's really hard for me to tell some people, like, listen, you know, we probably shouldn't do this. And I know that turns off a lot of clients, but I care about your health, I care about your longevity. So whether you work with me or somebody who I trust, you know, Layne, Paul, Will, all really great coaches. I'll put their information below, people to reach out to. Those types of people will care about that. And they may be more expensive than, let's say, somebody who gives you a cookie cutter plan and doesn't care about you, but you're actually going to learn more, and you're gonna have a healthier body because of it. Hopefully this video was super helpful and trying to, you know, plan your shows, plan your season. And like I said, girls, there are so many shows this year. There's so many shows. Keep adding shows too. So be on the lookout. You know, NPC News Online, they always kind of add new shows as the year goes on. So really, the stage will always be there. Make sure your body is ready to do a prep before you even think about stepping on stage. Make sure to share this video if you found it helpful. Like I said, I will put all the information of coaches that I recommend below, and happy prepping.